You are listening to KC Sports Network, the #1 podcast network for today's Kansas City sports fans. With former players from your favorite teams, informed perspectives, and former insiders, this is the place for you. KC Sports Network is proudly presented by Emprise Bank, your partner in possible.
What's up, Chiefs Kingdom? This is KCSN Update. I'm BJ Kissel, and this is your daily dose of Chiefs news and updates from us here at KC Sports Network. The AFC West standings are as follows after 2 weeks. The Chiefs are 2-0. The Chargers and the Broncos are both 1-1, and the Raiders are 0-2 after a pick six in overtime had them fall to the Arizona Cardinals at home. This is going to be a fun video to chat with my guy, Matt Miller from ESPN, who's going to join us for our normal Monday morning interview with his stock up, stock down report following that Chiefs win over the Los Angeles Chargers last Thursday. We've had a little time to let that marinate. But before we bring on Matt, a quick word from our friends at DraftKings. Kansas, the wait is over. DraftKings Sportsbook, America's top-rated sportsbook app, is officially live in Kansas just in time for football season. That means betting legally on same-game parlays, spreads, money lines, and more anytime and anywhere across the Sunflower State. To celebrate, DraftKings is giving new Kansas customers a can't-miss offer. Bet just $5 on anything and get $200 in free bets instantly. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use promo code KCSN to get $200 in free bets instantly when you place a $5 bet on anything. Again, that's code KCSN only at DraftKings Sportsbook, America's top-rated sportsbook. Gambling problem? Getting help is your best bet. Call 1-800-522-4700. Must be 21, physically present in Kansas. Eligibility restrictions apply. Bonus issued as free bets. One early win token issued at opt-in. Moneyline bets only. Deposit and wagering restrictions apply. Eligibility and terms at DraftKings.com/Kansas. On behalf of Boot Hill Resort and Casino. All right, now we bring on Matt Miller. Matt, I just mentioned where the AFC West rankings stand, and I don't know if you heard me talk about this because you and I have known each other a long time, and I don't normally get out there and make these big proclamations, these big things. I normally pretty even keel, but I have said from the beginning that if the Chiefs go and win the division for a 7th straight year after everything that happened with the AFC West during the offseason, that I was going to be insufferable. Like everybody went all in as much as they possibly could, and it still won't matter. Here we are 2 weeks into the season, Chiefs 2-0, everybody else looking up at them again.
Yeah, the more things change, the more they stay the same, right? And I think it's also like you and I talked about this last Monday. So many people wrote off the Chiefs this offseason. And, I living in Joplin, I heard it as well. Oh, my God, the Broncos got Russell Wilson and the Chargers got Khalil Mack. And, it's just like it was never ending. And the Raiders got Devontae Adams. 2 weeks in, none of that matters, right? Because all those teams are, like you said, looking up. And, for the Raiders to be 0-2, I think is probably the biggest surprise, but it's funny how you can polish that turd, but it's still, it still is what it is. Right. And it feels that way to me. Like the Raiders' problems on the offensive line are still there. Yeah. And it doesn't matter if you add the greatest receiver in the NFL, if your quarterback can't get him the ball, or if you can't stop anyone. And so I think that those teams, Justin Herbert played a hell of a game on Monday night or Thursday night, excuse me. But all those teams, at least early on, right? 2 weeks in, we don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves. A lot of their issues are the same. The Broncos can't score points. The Chargers are struggling with injury again. And the Raiders are just getting dominated up front on both sides of the ball. Max Crosby, got to give him some love. He did have a good game, but it's in a loss where they can't tackle Kyler Murray when it counts.
Yeah, and you don't have to look out far outside the AFC if you're looking for like surprise team. Look at the Cincinnati Bengals.
0-2.
Like the comments from Lael Collins saying like, hey, you don't have to worry about anything. Like your bodyguard's in town now. And they're having the same issues as if they didn't try to address the offensive line. But let's stick with the Chiefs for this report. Every Monday we bring you on for your stock up, stock down report. And it'll be an interesting one coming out of that game against the Chiefs because, the biggest takeaway for me is the Chiefs did not play well. And you have to give credit to the Chargers. I mean, that is what the Chargers are about. They have 2 of the top 8-ish pass rushers in the NFL and one of the best 2 or 3 safeties in the NFL. And those guys were playing lights out. But if you were looking at that game from a Chiefs fan perspective, they didn't play particularly well. The Chargers played pretty well outside of some mistakes and some play calling stuff that in the first half they probably want to have back. But Chiefs didn't play anywhere close to an A or a B game, and they still walked out victorious, which has got to be very difficult for the Chargers to swallow. I'm sure that was not a fun plane ride home, or a very comfortable one for Justin Herbert, who, as you mentioned, really showed some stuff playing through what he did. I didn't think it was a great idea with your young quarterback in week 2, but all that aside, what do you have as far as your first player on our stock up report following that Chiefs win over the Los Angeles Chargers?
Yeah, BJ, you hit the nail on the head with that summary. I think you have to start with Jaylen Watson stock up, and someone who came in when Trent McDuffie goes on IR. Jaylen's going to have to step up, and he did it perfectly. It reminded me in ways of that Malcolm Butler interception in the end zone for the New England Patriots against the Seahawks. I was there with our buddy Matt Bowen in that end zone, telling Bowen, like, they got to let them score. And he's like, you never let them score. There's a ton of time left. And obviously that worked out well for them. But for Jaylen to come up in that moment, I think was huge. And it's such a great story. I know you guys have covered it well there at KCSN, but that moment for him, to get that boost of confidence. Now that his coaches are going to have confidence in him, his teammates are going to have confidence in him. So what a great moment on a gigantic national stage to win the game, and when a game is hyped, deservedly so, as two of the great quarterbacks in this league right now. And for all the brilliance of Patrick Mahomes and all the gutsy big plays of Justin Herbert, it's a 7th round pick at corner who changes the game. And that's why I love football, because it can be that. It can be this, Goliath versus Goliath matchup at quarterback, and it's some dude that people didn't even know about until Thursday night at about 10 o'clock when he made that play.
It reminded me, and we talked about this on our 10 Things episode, it reminded me, the only debut that I remember having, a rookie having like that at Arrowhead Stadium for the first time he gets to kind of introduce himself in a regular season game, was Marcus Peters. When you go back to that first Thursday night game he had against the Denver Broncos, week 2, same kind of scenario where he picked off Peyton Manning and went the other way. Now the Chiefs ended up losing that game. A lot of people remember that game as the one where Jamal Charles fumbled at the very end of that game and it was returned back and they ended up losing. But that was Marcus Peters' kind of introduction. But again, Marcus Peters was from Washington, but he was a first-round pick. There was a lot counted on him. And I just mentioned kind of everything that, the AFC West division did during the offseason. And I know this is completely unfair, but this is the internet. You look for funny things. I tweeted it out last night, but you look at what the Chargers did at cornerback over the offseason. They paid J.C. Jackson $82 million over 5 years, and he gets burnt. And granted, he's not 100% healthy. He was dealing with some stuff, but Justin Watson, who's the 5th wide receiver for the Chiefs from Western PA, a guy that Brett Veach was absolutely going to love, but he beats their $82 million cornerback. And then the Chiefs offseason, or one of their offseason additions at cornerback, 7th round rookie, returns at 99 yards for a touchdown. And I believe NFL Stats and Research came out and said that was the first time in NFL history that late in the game, a rookie draft pick had made a pick 6 in that kind of, like, that never happened late in the game to win a game like that. But it's just the two differences between the teams. And I can't imagine what Brett Veach is feeling up in the press box, seeing his 5th receiver, guy from Western PA, not far from where he's from, beat their $82 million guy. And then when his first round pick, Trent McDuffie, can't play with an injury, so their 7th rounder is getting some more snaps, he goes pick 6 all the way back. That's got to be a swing that Brett Veach has got to be feeling pretty good about as he sits here, even going into this weekend.
And honestly, that was going to be my other stock up, was Brett Veach. Swear to God, I had it written down on my legal pad because of this ability to, like, you got to go full circle here. When Brett took over for John Dorsey, there was not a lot of patience, and there were fire Veach tweets. I mean, you can look it up. I'm not making this up. It was a hashtag, right? Since that time, they've won a Super Bowl. This is now a model franchise, and I think some of that is that Brett has hit on day 3 picks, and to pick up someone like Justin Watson. We've talked about Jaylen, Trey Smith last year. And so L'Jarius Sneed, who had a great game on Thursday night. I think you have to look at some of those. And I'm sure Brett Veach was high-fiving people in the box saying, we did it again. And, to do it with Ryan Poles, now the general manager of the Chicago Bears, you're losing someone that you really valued on that staff as a decision maker and an opinion former when evaluating players. And so for them to continue to find these, lesser known talents, we even saw Noah Gray get involved a little bit on Thursday night. So I think that's the key, is for Veach to be able to, and I've screamed this from the mountaintops, we knew this roster was going to have some turnover because of the salary cap and because of age. To stay competitive, they were going to have to draft well, because you can't just buy your way out of this situation with Tyreek Hill leaving and Tyrann Mathieu leaving. You had to draft well, and I think we saw that. And Wharton continues to make plays on the D line. Chris Jones had a hell of a game. I mean, he was unstoppable in the second half once they got him away from Zion Johnson. There's a lot of guys you could highlight, but to me, it's what this front office has done, and almost having to take like a thrift shop approach to what they're doing. A lot of short-term deals for the receivers who, by the way, really didn't do a whole lot Thursday night. Pat didn't get to throw the ball a whole lot. Time of possession was, pretty heavily swayed to the Chargers. They ran 20 more plays than the Chiefs. So we didn't see a big impact from the receivers, but we definitely saw it from some of these, guys that, you might have thought were bottom roster or, third string guys, having to step up and make plays.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned Noah Gray, because I know I said this on our post-game show that one of the most high leverage, and when I say high leverage, what I'm saying, I don't know if people understand that, if it's not even the right place to use that phrase, but things aren't going well for the Chiefs offense. It's a high pressure situation. And Patrick Mahomes threw to Noah Gray on a slant. And when he got tackled, I saw it was like a bigger white dude. I thought it was Kelsey. And then when he stood up, I didn't realize there's no, I was like, holy cow.
That's a lot of trust,
that's a lot of trust in that scenario to throw the ball. Cause that's the exact kind of situation where he's just going to throw it to Kelsey. Like, it doesn't matter how many guys are on him. Kelsey's going to get open.
Exactly.
But Noah Gray, granted, Mahomes is going to trust his guys, but for Noah Gray to be in that position and make that play was huge. And the other guy who made the plays, and I'm assuming it'd be maybe on your honorable mention stock up, and I know we had briefly touched on him last Monday, I believe, was Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I thought really early in that game, he provided the spark, and then him running through Derwin James' tackle. Maybe it was just me paying attention to that because I'm not on the sideline. I can't get a gaze, but I would be very hard pressed to not believe that everyone on the sideline that watched that play happen didn't get something going because of how good they know Derwin James is and how much he's really cleaning up everything on the back end that Joey Bosa and Khalil Mack don't wreck up front.
Yep.
I mean, they really are set up very, very well to be a dominant defense. And they had the Chiefs number for most of that game. That was not Patrick Mahomes' best game by any means.
Yeah.
And there were some plays that Patrick Mahomes made that probably should have resulted in a much more negative play than they did. But they found a way to overcome it. The Chargers made some mistakes, and the Chiefs stepped up and did what they needed to do to win that game. But yeah, Noah Gray with his huge play, and then Clyde Edwards-Helaire is the one that really stood out to me on that little Texas route out of the backfield where he ran through Derwin James that kind of set up everything. I think they were down 10 at that point, and that was kind of the game-changing play for me.
Yeah, no, it definitely was. And I think you're right. To see Clyde get going early this year is important. He looks healthy. He looks faster. I think there's more trust in him. We're seeing more of what we saw at LSU with him being involved in the passing game so much. Or, even with that weird old school helmet he's wearing, it's that I think we're seeing a little bit better contact balance. I mean, he's like 5'5". It's hard to tackle anyway, right? But I think that is a balance that this offense needed. And like you said, it was not Patrick's best night. I think there were 3 passes that you say could have been or maybe were intercepted that didn't end up counting. But that's going to happen. Over the course of a 17-game season, you're going to have nights where you come out and you don't play your best. But as you said, to still get that win in the division, your home opener, it's huge for just, kind of that chemistry and the energy that you're going to have as a team. But also to take the Chargers down, to get that one win over them is enormous, because they are a team that I think is going to be playing much better the second half of the season, or the fourth quarter of the season as they kind of gel. There's a lot of new stuff going on there. It's the second year for this coaching staff. So I think we're going to see a better Chargers team as we get into December.
It'll be interesting to see how Brandon Staley, their head coach, plays it, because we had talked so much in the leading up to that game and in the past about how aggressive he was and how that kind of hindered them, and it seemed like he went the other direction and was super conservative. Besides the fact that he left his quarterback, who obviously could not protect himself, and I understand that everybody's gonna, and I might be in the very small minority here, and this is coming from somebody trying to remove my bias of being a Chiefs fan. The player could not protect himself out there, and I understand that. If it's bruised ribs, and that's kind of what I was talking about. We had a second screen watch party. I was looking at Kent and I go, unless it's bruised ribs where they 100% know that that's what it is. And it's just one of those, this is going to be really painful, but it's not going to hurt you. But the fact that you can't move, when he got outside the pocket, he just threw it away. I'm like, this dude cannot protect himself right now. Do you really want to risk your franchise quarterback week 2? Granted, it's a huge game, but it's a short week and you've got a lot of season ahead of you. And I understand that if it doesn't linger and it's not anything that's going to be serious, he earned a lot of respect from his teammates and probably everyone around the league with what he did. So I completely understand that. I still don't think it was the right decision based on how he was moving and how much pain he seemed to be in to make his guy play through that. I don't know what your take is on that, but it made me uncomfortable the entire time.
Oh no, I had a tweet that I promptly deleted that was like, they got to take him out because he can't protect himself. I had another tweet that I didn't send on was, this is not a franchise with a great track record on quarterback rib injuries. If you remember, the reason Justin Herbert even started playing was because they punctured Tyrod Taylor's lung because of rib injury. So if I'm Justin Herbert, I'm terrified right now. I'm probably seeking outside counsel to get my rib checked out, right? But I mean, I think for Justin, he's always going to remember that the word on him coming out of Oregon was that he was soft. And it was. I mean, you heard that from scouts who went through there. You didn't hear from the coaches at Oregon. Like, no one there ever said it, but West Coast scouts hammered him hard that year. There's a reason that he was the 3rd quarterback drafted. And it was because there was that, hey, he's kind of soft. He's kind of quiet and he's a little aloof. And I think he's always going to hear that. And so in these moments where he's in intense pain, obviously, that 4th down throw is one of the coolest moments that I can remember in the NFL. As someone who's pretty unbiased about this, just the moment and the magnitude of it and the obvious pain he was in. He earned a ton more respect from me. I'm a Justin Herbert fan. I have been, but I think you're right that just like Aaron Rodgers is always going to hear that he was the 24th or 26th pick in the draft, right? Or Patrick Mahomes is always going to count how many times teams passed on him or that he was, what number quarterback he was. I think guys have to find that edge a little bit. And for Justin, he's going to show that toughness every chance he gets.
Yeah. And he's just a different kind of guy. I think that was one of the things. And Jeff Schwartz talked a lot about that he might be a quieter personality guy and that a lot of times you want that, Patrick Mahomes, that kind of alpha, the Joe Burrow, like one of those kinds of personalities. And that's just not what Justin Herbert's about. And
Eli Manning isn't either. So it's like, it's
a good point. Yeah.
Right. It's weird because leadership comes in all different forms. And if it's too much, then a guy gets labeled arrogant. If it's not enough, they get labeled aloof. It's a weird balancing act.
I don't think with him, I think that settled that narrative, and it should settle that narrative forever regarding his toughness to go out there. And granted, you and I both know, because we've stood down there, anyone who steps between those lines earns the respect of everyone else of not being tough. Like, you can't step between those lines. Even if you're not the one getting hit, you stand down there and tell me that's just, it's a different world.
It's a little different than the Friday night football a lot of us played 20 years ago. 1A football in Missouri is a little different than the Chargers Chiefs.
Yeah, it's a little different. And I am going to say this. I had been making fun of myself for so long, but now that he had a 6 touchdown performance, I will say that I was happy that the Chargers took Herbert they ended up with Herbert because I didn't want Tua to go to the Chargers. Now it's looking a little better after Tua's last game. Give credit where it's due. He's looking like the quarterback that I liked coming out of Alabama.
I don't know how Chiefs fans feel about Tyreek Hill, but he had a day. He had a day on Sunday. And for me, it's just, I root for players, and it's fun to watch guys succeed. Jaylen Waddle had a great day too.
Yeah. I think if Tyreek would stop talking so much about Patrick in that, like, it's one thing to promote your quarterback and to have your guys back. I think that didn't bother me at all when he's talking about the most accurate. Granted, he's doing it to rile up Chiefs fans because we will give you engagement. If you say something on social media, you will get all the engagement in the world from Chiefs fans. But I think Pat McAfee said it best. Like, Tyreek went down there and made them a much better football team and brought an attitude and a confidence to that team that they probably, I don't know if they needed it publicly, but it's working. And they look really, really good. Him and Jaylen Waddle and what they just did. And then obviously how Tua's playing, he didn't shy off of the kind of the target that Tyreek was putting on his back, but it worked out for both teams. The Chiefs are 2-0, feeling really good about what they're doing. Mm-hmm. Tyreek is down there. He's the highest paid wide receiver in NFL history. He got what he wanted. He wanted out based on some of the things that have come out from both sides.
Yeah.
If you take him at their word, both of them are happy at where they're at, and we can just leave it right there. It's not going to stop Chiefs fans from paying attention. But after this weekend, I think Chiefs fans will be like, you know what? Good for you, Tyreek. You're happy. We're happy. We'll just call it good right there. So Matt, before we let you go, I do need to get a stock down report on anybody that following this weekend or the Chiefs game on Thursday that you think needs to prove a little something.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to go stock down on a team that is 2-0, but I will go back to those wide receivers. I think we do need to see them step up. And there's a lot of that in the NFL right now. I think you could watch that Packers game and say Aaron Rodgers doesn't trust anyone he's throwing to. I don't think it's to that level with Patrick, but I think we are seeing them try to figure it out. I think 10 receivers caught a pass on Thursday night. So we love that they're spreading the ball around, but someone has to become that go-to player. We've seen them kind of try it with a lot of different guys, whether it's Cole getting attention early or Juju. I think the matchup will dictate who that guy kind of is each week. But against a Colts defense this coming week, long week, you got a lot of time to prepare. That's what I'm looking for. I want one of these receivers to step up and be that guy, be someone that takes the pressure off Travis Kelce and opens this pass game up.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how many guys come back for the Colts because they are banged up. They were missing some guys. They have some guys that are playing through some stuff, but we didn't talk about it. But the one good thing also that the Chiefs got through that game last Thursday is that's their short week game, and they got it out of the way early. They snuck out their win. They got 10 days to rest for guys like Harrison Butker, and shout out the kicker. Shout out that dude. That dude coming in right off the bat. And I thought it was really smart of Coach Reed on that 4th and 1 from the goal line, or that 4th and half from the goal line, to go ahead and kick that field goal right at the start of the fourth quarter to tie the game. Didn't want to put him in a bigger, more high leverage situation.
When you look at it,
yeah, the way that it played out, just at the time, I remember looking at Kent, and I'm like, no, this is the right decision. Like, I don't want that poor kicker to have to the 50th anniversary of Arrowhead, and you've got all the celebrities, and Jeff Bezos is running around on the sideline. He's got all this hoopla going on with the game and just what it means to both those teams. I thought that was a great decision. But yeah, shout out Amendola for what he did in that game. But any other thoughts, stock up, stock down reports coming out of week 2? I know you watched not just the Chiefs, but the entire NFL. Any other just thoughts on what was a crazy day across the NFL when you think about that Ravens-Dolphins game, and some of the others are just kind of head-scratching at this point. My guy, Cooper Rush, I've liked that dude since came out of college. It's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, played well. I think probably the biggest surprise to me is the Bengals being 0-2, just because they were in the Super Bowl last year. And sure, there's the history of teams losing the Super Bowl, not doing well the next year, but 0-2 is shocking. And as you mentioned, the offensive line does not look good. Jamar Chase got shut down by Trevon Diggs on Sunday. Joe Burrow is getting hit like they're playing the Tennessee Titans again. Like it's just not a good situation. They've got to fix some stuff there. And it almost feels like last year was just a Cinderella story, and maybe they just played out of their minds and hit some teams at the right moments. But they have a lot to correct in Cincinnati. And in that division, man, you can't get too far behind, because Baltimore in a loss looked really good. The Steelers, obviously they lost as well, but they're going to get better with TJ Watt gets back, and as they kind of figure some things out offensively. So I think for Cincinnati, like if you're looking at a team that is a surprise, on the downside, it's them right now. On the upside, you have teams like the New York Giants being 2-0, the Jacksonville Jaguars being first in the AFC South. It's crazy right now to see some of the teams that are hot versus where we expected them to be. So it's the NFL, man. That's outside of Kansas City. It feels like everything's unpredictable right now.
Yeah, I didn't even bring up the Jets-Browns game. I think you've got the entire NFL, and this may be a conversation for a different podcast, but some of the stuff coming out of Cleveland with some of the pictures from the tailgates backing up Deshaun is fucking embarrassing.
Terrible stuff, man.
They're just going to have the entire rest of the football watching world rooting against them. I've never been a more bigger Garrett Wilson, Joe Flacco fan than when I saw the highlight at the end. And then he gives the Ohio sign in Cleveland. So anyway, man, Matt Miller from ESPN, we appreciate you for joining us on this episode of KCSN Update. Matt will join us every Monday going forward this season with a stock up, stock down report. Matt, where can everybody catch your work, and what have you got going on right now that all these Chiefs fans can go and support what you got going on?
Yeah, BJ, every Monday and Friday right now on ESPN.com, we're running Draft Notebooks. So it's myself, Mel Kiper, Todd McShay, Jordan Reed, kind of mixing it up, giving you our stock up, stock down, players who popped that you might have missed over the weekend, some predictions, just really taking you through the stock market that is the draft, of how players are rising and falling, maybe how some programs like Kansas State are falling right now, while others like Texas are playing really well. So that's
really
good. I mean,
you know
I
what? I
gotta
was
start
just about
talking
to give you
trash now.
I was just about to give you a compliment saying, do you know how special it is and how long you and I have known each other to hear you come out and say, catch my work alongside Todd McShay and Mel Kiper, and Jordan Reed's a younger guy, but just to say, like, I know Mel Kiper was your guy. And so I'm sitting here thinking, man, I am not going to let you not get away with saying that and not remind you of how cool that is to say for the two of us sitting here talking, 10 years later, all these different platforms that we've been on, all these different things that we're doing. And then you have to go there.
Sorry. It's ingrained in me to mess with you every chance I get. When
it's really tough though, is because now with KCSN and, kind of overseeing all of it, that as pissed as I am about K-State, just like, damn it, like Tulane. And now we're going to do a live show at Tanner's in Aggieville next week for the Oklahoma game. Not that that's still not a big game, but it took some of the shine away from what it would have been if they had gone out and taken care of business against, Kansas City's own Willie Fritz, down there at Tulane, just doing a great job. And they had a great game plan. Like, it was not a good game by K-State at all. And hopefully they seem to come out and play Oklahoma well every year, but took the sting out. But then got KU on the other side that's just making national headlines. They got Kent Swanson and Scott Chasen doing a KU football. We started a KU basketball show, and 2 months later they won a national title. We started a KU football show, and all of a sudden they start 3-0.
I never
Jayhawk
knew
fans.
that I know so many KU football fans until last week. I'm like, what? I knew y'all were KU basketball fans, but this is crazy. I know so many KU football fans now. But hey, I will be a Wildcat this weekend. I hope you guys beat Oklahoma. And like I said, we early November, a little Texas K-State head-to-head. Hopefully that game will matter by the time we get to it for both of us.
Yeah. No, it'll be a good one. Hopefully they come out and play well. They, like I said, they always play Oklahoma well. At least they have. I think they won like 4 of the last 6 years. They've won down there. So let's see what Adrian Martinez. I mean, this is what he transferred here for, these big games in this moment. So we'll see what he's got. Defense, Felix, those guys it's got to be better. Everybody's got to be better. But this is the big one. So we'll see what happens. But Matt Miller from ESPN, man, we appreciate you for joining us. And everybody, we appreciate your support, whether you're watching on YouTube or listening on our podcast channels. Please drop us a comment, rate, review, subscribe, follow, all that good stuff. We got plenty of good stuff here at KC Sports Network this week. Got Matt Castle and Matt Hamilton breaking down Patrick Mahomes in the offense from last Thursday, and Derek Johnson, who Matt Miller may have heard of since he played at his favorite school, the University of Texas, and he played for the Chiefs a little while, all-time leading tackler. He'll be breaking down the defense with Mike DeVito and Craig Stout later this week as well. So we are in full gear at KC Sports Network. A lot of good stuff for you, and we appreciate knowing that there's a lot of places you can get your Chiefs content. We appreciate being one of those places. So until next time, Chiefs Kingdom, we'll see you later.